Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Happy New Year. It is January 2nd, the day I'm filming this. So I hope you all had a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and I'm so excited about this new reading year. But this is gonna be my December wrap up. I've been procrastinating filming this because I have a lot of books to talk about because I read 12 books in December, which I think is a record for me, possibly. Not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure it's a record. So yes, total this year, or I guess last year technically, 2022, I read 91 books, and my brain has a hard time comprehending that because at the beginning of last year I did not think I was gonna make it to 90. I had set my goal at 50, and then we're here at 91. So it was an amazing reading year, and I'm excited to see what this next year has. I'm doing some challenges. I might talk about those, and yeah, I'm so excited. I set my Goodreads reading goal for this year, I think, to 85. I could have gone higher than last year, or I could have put it above 91 to see if I could beat this year or last year's. So confusing. But I just decided I'm not gonna push myself too hard. I just want to read and enjoy it. So 85 is the goal, and we'll see where we go from there. So thank you for joining me on this journey, and let's begin talking about December's books. So I read 12 books this month, or in December, and DNF'd one. And I'm going to talk about the DNF first, and I'm literally so sad that I had to DNF this book. The Women of Chateau Lafayette. I wanted to love this book, and I started out loving it. And it's honestly just like one of my favorite covers that I own. It started off so good, so strong. You're following 3 women in different time periods, but all centered around the Lafayette family. What is the guy's name? General Lafayette, who fought in one of the the wars with America. Oh yes, it was the War for Independence. He fought with us. So you've probably heard Lafayette is an actual person, and it started off so good, but then things just started happening that I wasn't okay with. It talked about, now I'm not sure if this part of the story was true, and there was not descriptions or details or any of it. It was just mentioned in part of the story that General Lafayette had a mistress. He was married, and his wife is one of the main characters, or one of the POVs we're following, and it shows that part, and it doesn't give any details, but it just kind of mentions that. And then also another main character who is in the 1945, which would be like the main timeline of this book. I was so disturbed and disappointed, but basically she is engaged to a soldier, and obviously he goes off to fight in the World War II, and her best friend, who is married to a soldier, her husband is also off in the war. And it talks about how she's starting to be attracted to her best friend, and how she was hoping that she wasn't the only one feeling that way, and that her best friend felt that way about her. And I was just like, no, why are you ruining an amazing story with that? Like, I don't know how it ends. I don't know how that whole situation is resolved, but I said, no, I'm not doing this. And at first there was hardly any language. Like, this is not a Christian book, but it was clean and there was no language. And then the farther I got on, there started to be language. And after I decided to DNF it, I like read ahead a little bit, and there was a scene with like a lot of language because there was like a fight or something. And so I said, no, you know what, as beautiful as it is, I don't like this. And I was loving it. And so I I hate when I have to DNF books for those reasons, but here we are. Goodbye. To the thrift store you go. Or sell it. I don't know what I'm gonna do. Okay, so the first book that I actually finished this month was Child of the River by Irma Joubert. I don't know how to say her last name. This is an absolutely beautiful book. Do I remember what it was about? Maybe a little. It was all over the place. And I'm trying to figure out if that's how it was supposed to be. But basically it's about a girl named Persomi, I think is how you pronounce it. She's very poor. Her family is poor. There's been abuse in her family. And it's kind of just her life story of, she became a lawyer? Was it a lawyer? I don't know, but there's just the relationships with her family and with others, and there were things I didn't agree with, and it was a very forgettable story, kind of, and so I gave it 3 stars. And I see, like, I don't even know how to say it because I've forgotten what it was about. There are parts I enjoyed, but overall just not my favorite. And then I read Clich Christmas by Terry Blackstock. I borrowed this from the library, so I have since returned it, and I really enjoyed this. I think I gave it 5 stars, which looking back it might be like 4 to 4.5, but you know, we'll keep it at 5. It honestly felt like a movie, like a cute Christmas movie. It's about a cab driver who gets a call to go to an older woman's house who is, like, she's in a wheelchair, she can't get around, and her granddaughter? Yeah, her granddaughter is a lawyer working on a case, and she is having a hard time taking care of her, so her granddaughter calls the cab driver to come take this woman to the hospital for a checkup, you know? And so he does, and he's, what's his name? Was it Finn? I think that's his name. I don't remember. I think I'm wrong, but anyways, the cab driver thinks it's ridiculous that this woman is just having to go to the doctor. There's no family there to, like, hear what the doctor has to say, and he's just kind of flabbergasted. And then the next day he gets a call from the woman, and she wants him to come pick her up again. And he doesn't want to say yes because he doesn't want to be, like, he's not even sure she's going to pay him because she's so old and forgets things. And it's just this journey of him taking her to different places on different days when he doesn't want to, and he doesn't realize why he keeps coming back. And then him and her granddaughter meet, and it's just, the ending was heart-wrenching and heartwarming and just pulled at my heartstrings, and I really enjoyed it. So that was like the first Christmas book, really, that I'd read, I think. Wow, my finger popped. But yes, I really enjoyed that one. Next, I read another Terry Blackstock, Trial by Fire. This is number 4 in the New .911 series, and oh my goodness, I absolutely loved this book. The characters were amazing, and it was super interesting because it followed people, grandchildren of people in the KKK, maybe? I don't know, but that whole era. And there is a church fire, and a murder that happens right at the beginning. And it follows one of the paramedics, and she is not a Christian, and it's kind of her story, her and her nephew's story of him being with this group who did this terrible thing, and her helping him, and then her being targeted, and it's a wild Terry Blackstock ride. And the ending was just, this was one of my favorites of the series, I think. So highly recommend this series. Loved it. Okay, I'm so excited to talk about this book. I read this on a whim. It was not on my TBR. I recently got Libby which if you don't know what Libby is, it is an app that you can borrow library books, ebooks, like from your phone, from your library. And so I went on Libby and I was like, I looked up Nicole Deese because I've heard about her in the Christian fiction romance world. And I was interested and I just wanted to see what her books were like. And so I picked this one up and I loved it so much that I bought my own copy with a gift card. And that is Before I Called You Mine by Nicole Deese. I'm gonna read the back because it's very well put. Lauren Bailey may be a romantic at heart, but after a decade of matchmaking schemes gone wrong, there's only one match she's committed to now, the one that will make her a mother. Lauren is a dedicated first grade teacher in Idaho, and her love for children has led her to the path of international adoption. To satisfy her adoption agency's requirements, she gladly agreed to remain single for the foreseeable future. However, just as her long wait comes to an end, Lauren is blindsided by a complication she never saw coming: Joshua Avery. Joshua may be a substitute teacher by day, but Lauren finds his passion for creating educational technology as fascinating as his antics in the classroom. Though she does her best to downplay the undeniable connection between them, his relentless pursuit of her heart puts her commitment to stay unattached to the test and causes her once firm conviction to waver. With an impossible decision looming, Lauren might very well find herself choosing between the two deepest desires of her heart, even if saying yes to one means letting go of the other. And I read that and I read the back and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna read this. And it was my heart. Like, honestly, it was so good. Great faith content as well. And I want to read it again so I can annotate it and underline and all the things. And just everything. Was every decision they made perfect? No. Were there immature moments? Possibly. But overall, just everything. It was so cute and so sweet, but also like emotional, obviously, with adoption and everything. And I love Joshua Avery. Oh my word, he was hilarious. And this cover is absolutely beautiful. So I loved this one and I highly recommend it. Okay, the next book I read was Sound the Trumpet by Gilbert Morris. I gave this one 4 stars. I love Gilbert Morris's writing. His historical fiction is so refreshing to me, and not like other historical fiction like that women write. It's just, I love reading historical fiction that a man has written. And he does romance so well, like better than most females, because they're like, they feel real and not like mushy gushy. And that's what I like. I like real stuff. But this is, oh my goodness, I can't remember what these books are about. Basically, he is, the main character, Daniel Bradford, is accused of something that he did not do, and he is sent to prison, and a very horrible prison where most men die, and he's separated from his sister. He gets out of the prison by agreeing to be an indentured servant in America, and his sister is told that he's dead. So you're following their life. Daniel coming to America, I think her name is Lina, her life, and until they meet again one day. And I really enjoyed this, and it is a series, so I will continue the series eventually. But yes, just a great historical fiction, and there's so much historical elements. Like, you see people in these books that were real, and it's not just like another historical romance. It is, his books are always so much more than that. So I highly recommend Gilbert Morris. Okay, people, you want to be sent on a roller coaster of feelings and thoughts, and you're like, oh, I like this person. No, I don't like this person. This person's terrible. This person is amazing after all. The Frontiersmen's Daughter by Laura France. This was my first Laura France book, and loved, and can't wait to read more Laura France because she had me like, woo. And there's a little bit of a kind of a love triangle, but it's not really how it sounds. But wow, this pulled at the heartstrings, definitely. And is about a girl who is grown up, has grown up on the frontier, and it's very, very rugged. And I loved that setting. It was really fun to read about that because I don't read much of that type of thing. And her father was captured by Indians many years ago, and they come back. Her father comes back, and then the Indians come and find them, and the Indian chief or someone high up, who is technically not a native-born Indian, he's actually a white man grown up as Indian, so he's Indian without having Indian blood, wants her and follows her and leaves her gifts. And so it's getting dangerous because there's Indian killings, all of that, and it's so much happens in this book, and it spans several years. So if I'm sounding confusing, I'm sorry. But she goes away to school, comes back, and things are different, and she begins, you know what, I'm not gonna tell you anymore because that's when it gets into like a little bit spoilery. But I just really recommend this and loved it very much. Oh, and then I read Sunrise by Susan May Warren. This is the first book in the something Alaskan something series. I don't even know. I should have looked that up first, but I got this one from the library and I really enjoyed it. It's one of those that I kind of keep thinking about, and I gave it 4.25 stars. And it is about the son of like a pilot, and I forget even what he does, but he like his father delivers stuff. And it's, did I say it's set in Alaska? I'm so all over the place because I read so many books. But it is set in Alaska in the wintertime, and his father is like he delivers stuff out onto the frontier of Alaska, kind of, I think. But his father is in the hospital, and so, wow, what is his name? I don't even remember his name. I'm sorry. There's so many names. But main character dude comes home for the first time in 10 years. And that was probably my biggest problem with the book, is he comes home after 10 years and things are obviously different, but in relationships, some of the things are the same. Like grudges are still being held, and his argument that he had with the woman he wanted to marry is still unresolved, and it gets resolved, but you know, there was that element. I was like 2, 3, 4 years, maybe I can understand, but 10 years and you're still pining away for each other. That was my biggest issue. But it shows them going into the Alaskan territory and trying to rescue someone, and that was really interesting. And what made me love the book more was the day after I finished reading it, maybe, or the night after I finished reading it, it snowed. And so driving around, it felt like I was in that setting, which made it so much better. It just made the book feel more real. And if you can hear my siblings screaming, I'm very sorry. But it just made the book feel more real, and it was super fun. So I definitely think eventually I want to continue that series. The next one I read was actually a nonfiction. It is My Jesus by Ann Wilson. I love Ann Wilson. If you don't know, she is a Christian artist Um, I'd say her most popular song probably is My Jesus. Sorry about the noise. And hence the title, My Jesus. And it's just kind of her story. Her brother passed away in a car accident, and that is ultimately kind of what led her to pursue music. And it's just her inspiring story of walking through grief and God being there every step of the way and leading her and opening doors. Like, it was just really good, and I would definitely recommend this, and especially to younger girls too. I think they would enjoy this and really benefit from this. Another very popular booktube Christian fiction romance book, Love and a Little White Lie by Tammy L. Gray. I enjoyed this so much. So basically, this is about January Sanders, and she goes to work at a church. There's a catch: she's not a Christian, and she tries to hide it from the people there, but she ends up beginning a relationship with the lead guitarist in the church band, and they begin a relationship, and she hides it from him that she's not a Christian because she wants to be in this relationship, obviously. And so that relationship is ended because of his convictions. And honestly, when I started reading it, I didn't expect it to go where it did, but I'm so glad it did, because if you read, you'll probably understand why. But the power and amazingness, that's not, I don't know. Best friends, okay? Best friends. And great faith as well. I appreciated the faith in here. And I'm excited to read the next book in the series, and I think I love this cover. And it's matte, and it's just really good. So I really enjoyed this one. The next, I read A Clich Christmas by Nicole Deese. It was a super short. Every time I say super short in my videos, I say super short. Anyways, it was a super short read. I read it on my Kindle. I gave it 3.5. Yeah, 3.5. It was cute. It felt like a Hallmark movie. You know how I feel about Hallmark movies. So there was a lot of immature things that I was like, you could have resolved your relationship so much easier than this. But I did enjoy it. So maybe it's just one of those things. And it has a little bit of faith. Nicole Deese is a Christian author, but since it was so short, I almost said so short. Since it was so short, it just didn't have a lot of that. Sorry, I don't know where I'm at now. Oh, I was saying that there wasn't, I wish there would have been more faith, but it was such a short book, I understand, and there was some. It's basically about a girl, I don't even remember her name at this point. I need coffee. But she comes back to her hometown after several years. I don't remember exactly how long. It's her coming back into that and helping with a Christmas pageant for a little girl who has cancer, and it's like a fundraiser for her. And that part was really sweet. I enjoyed that. But it was just okay. It was 3.5. And then one of my favorites, The Sun Does Shine by Anthony Ray Hinton. This is a nonfiction. This is a true story about Anthony Ray Hinton, who was wrongly condemned of murders and sent to death row. And he was on death row for like 30 years, innocent, and he was innocent. And it's a story of trying to prove his innocence and get to the truth. And it shows his darkest moments and how, with God, he overcame those. And it was so inspiring, and it made me so angry, like the justice system and the corrupt justice system, and it made me angry. But his story is so inspiring. At the end, I was like almost tearing up. I probably did, or was trying not to because I was around people reading while reading the ending. It was just so good. There is a little bit of language. There's a few places that language is used, but it didn't feel appropriate for this type of book. Sorry, I keep getting interrupted. But yeah, like I said, there's a little bit of language. It's not a ton. But if you're curious about that, if you are interested in true stories like this, talks about race, and he was a black man wrongly condemned and had an unfair bias. He had a biased jury and judge who basically put him away because a crime was committed and someone wrongly identified him and he was black. So if you're interested in that topic, I highly recommend it. Even if you're not like a super big reader, I think you would enjoy this because it's just such a good story. Okay, and the last book that I have to talk about. I made the mistake of starting this at night and read for hours. I started it like December 30th. I was like, I want to get one more book in. And I'd finished my other books and I wanted to read. And I was like, you know what? It was Friday night. I was like, I'm going to read for several hours and get most of this book knocked out. And that is One by One by Gilbert Morris. So apparently Gilbert Morris doesn't only write historical fiction. He writes mysteries. I gave it 4 stars. It was a wild ride. So it is very similar, and it gave me Agatha Christie vibes. And I saw the reason that clicked in my brain is I saw one of the reviews on Goodreads said that it's kind of like a retelling or based off of Agatha Christie's And Then There Were None. And I've never read that book, but this kind of makes me want to. So basically, there is an investigator at a law firm, and she's trying to help her dad. He's been sick, and so he can't work, and she's taking on cases. And she gets a call from somebody to come meet him. And it was kind of like a sketch situation, and I was like, you should have maybe not just went in blindly. But she wanted the business, and so she goes, and well, he tells her to get in his plane, because that's where they're gonna have this conversation about this case, and it just seems secretive and like he was trying to hide from somebody. Anyways, drugs her, knocks her out, takes her to a silo, hence the silos on the front cover. And there are 11 other people there. So she's the 12th person. And everything was set up for 12 people. And it goes from there. And he has hired someone to slowly, one by one, take them out. Because they all have a common denominator, something that they're all guilty of. And the guy is like a crazy person, and he comes on, there's like a camera and a speaker, and he talks to them, and they're trying to figure out what they all did, and that they all have in common that he would be mad about because he's crazy. And there's great faith in here too. The woman is studying at seminary to be a missionary in Africa, and she leads several people to the Lord before they were killed. And not everybody dies in here, but a few are killed. And so yeah, I don't recommend reading it at night because it is a little bit creepy, but it was really enjoyable. And if you want a fast-paced book that keeps you on your toes and you want to keep knowing what you want to, yeah. Words, Erica. Read this one. Super enjoyable. All right, I'm done talking about him. And I'm so glad. And I feel like this was a very incoherent, all over the place video because I couldn't get my thoughts straight. That's one of the downfalls about reading so many books on BookTube is because you have to remember you have to remember enough about them to like give a coherent review, and I feel like I did a bad job, but it was fun nonetheless, and I hope you got a few good suggestions. I'm really excited about January's reading. I'm doing a Chateau reads all day. I'm doing her Read Your Bookshelf challenge. Also doing the Brighter Winter challenge by Daughters of Promise. So I'm currently reading like 4 books. They're all in different genres, okay? So it's like not too confusing in my brain. But I feel like January is going to be a super good reading month, and I'm excited to bring you along with that. Thank you so much for watching and for supporting me in my journey this past year, and I'm excited to see what this next year holds. So yeah, I hope you have an amazing day, and I'll talk to you in my next video. Bye, guys.